Hey everyone, welcome to Qrow's Corner, a show for a quick review of this week's episode of RWBY. And today we're going to be talking about episode 4.1, The Next Step. One thing that is immediately obvious is that the animation is much improved. Not that it was bad before, but you can clearly see the production value is much higher. We open on Salems Realm, of which they've only had a glimpse of it at the end of Volume 3. And here we get the first what's happening with familiar characters when we find Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury. Cinder is clearly in bad shape, as the entire left side of her body seems damaged, including losing her eye and her voice doesn't work as well. We also meet three new characters, Dr. Watts, Tyrion, and Hazel. Watts gives Cinder a hard time about being bested by RWBY, and that sort of implies that he might actually be Salem's number 2. But at this point, Salem enters the room and comes to Cinder's defense, and you can see when she enters the room that she is absolutely feared and respected. We don't know a lot about Salem at this point, and we learn a couple of things here, but you definitely see that fear and respect, and obviously with good reason. But she's also not autonomous. She has this council of her own. She also isn't brutally vicious, given her willingness to look at Cinder's successes as being more important than her defeats, so she's actually somewhat understanding here. She gives an order to Tyrion to find the Spring Maiden while sending Hazel to go meet with Adam. And these two characters, Hazel and Tyrion, are polar opposites in their temperament. Hazel comes off as stoic, almost like disinterested in why he's there, and Tyrion is absolutely crazy. He is a nut bar. We also see the fruits of the next stage of their plan, which is namely to destroy the tower at Haven, much like they did at Beacon. But when they bring up RWBY, Tyrion is then sent instead to retrieve RWBY and bring her to Salem, most likely to probe her silver eye power. We also learn that Ozpin is presumably dead, and I say presumably because I don't believe it until I see a body. We then see a young alleged boy working on a farm, presumably in Arnhem, which is the kingdom of Mistral. We don't know who this is yet, but it could be related to the Spring Maiden, so there's a theory that's already going to go out here that this might be related to the Spring Maiden. This is also when our heroes show up, arguing over the team name, whether it's going to be Junior or Ranger. But RWBY interrupts their argument when she's fighting a large rock monster Grimm, which is controlled by a ghost-like Grimm called a Geist. The team, you can see, is obviously working well together, and Jean is sort of the strategist of the team. Ren and Nora, they show off their fighting styles that were reminiscent of what we saw in the first 3 volumes. RWBY, on the other hand, seems much stronger and much more confident, especially using her semblance throughout the fight. Ranger then goes back to the village for their reward in protecting the people from this Grimm, and we get sort of a new cultural region here in Mistral, which is rustic, and the people there are content. It's much simpler than what we saw in Vale. And the reward they get for helping is actually for Jean. He gets upgraded armor and weaponry. And this is also where we get one of those feels moments, because they find out that the shield is gilded with Pyrrha's crown. Yikes. We also get some awesome new Rooster Teeth merch opportunity when we see Jean's Pumpkin Pete bunny hoodie. And then the team moves on to Mistral, the city, helping where they can along the way. They sort of become this kind of like wandering huntsman-hunters team. And then the last scene is a brief scene that takes us to Atlas, where we see Weiss sitting in her room. And a servant says her father wants to speak with her, so she goes. But you can see that there's still this hesitation that we've seen with her regarding her father before, so obviously there's still something going on there. And then finally we get the new song and intro. Love the song, by the way. It's not nearly as dark as When It Falls, but certainly a beautiful song. And it's immediately clear that this season is going to see the members of RWBY going their own separate ways. Besides RWBY and Weiss, Blake seems to be on her way to Menagerie, along with Sun and possibly her father and sister. We don't know who those characters are yet, but could potentially be family. Yang is seen training with Tai Yang, but she's still haunted by the loss of her arm, as there's this kind of dark moment of her seeing Adam's face. Blake may again come toe-to-toe with Adam, and the fight within herself is still going to be there. I'm not sure that she can fight Adam. And then RWBY is certainly going to have her hands full when Tyrion finds her. And above all else, we see that Salem's team is on solid ground while RWBY's team is scattered, as Salem's team is shown at the end on this mountain surrounded by Grimm. It's only been 1 episode, but Volume 4 is definitely off to a strong start, and it'll be exciting to see how many fan theories play out in the show and how many were just wishful thinking. The animation and the timbre of the show are both getting much more mature, which I personally love that, and hopefully that translates into the story as well, that it isn't as simplistic, that we start to see some of these darker themes and some of these more personal themes come out in the show. But right now, I'm absolutely optimistic, and this was a fantastic way to start Volume 4. Let me know what you guys thought about the first episode of RWBY Volume 4, whether you liked it or not, and give some of your theories that you might have seen in the episode that I would have missed. That's it for this episode of Qrow's Corner, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click over here to subscribe to my channel. Or you can check out my website over here at dkestner.com, where you can find out more about everything I do, including the books I've written, like Elliot Knoll, and so many others. So thanks a lot for watching.